All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and put the board in, finish our waterproofing. This is day 2, so what we wanna do is obviously the waterproofing like I just mentioned and get the shower floor down. I always recommend, especially on 2x2s or anything that's not pebble stone, to do the floor first so that your wall tile overhangs the floor and you don't have any ugly grout joint around the edge. But just to go over a couple of things that you need, well, first off, we're using the Tile Redi wall board, and the one detail I want you to notice, and we'll highlight this a little bit more when we install it, but is this little rabbet joint right here. So this allows the other panel to slide over top of it and really make a nice watertight seal. That's a very rare thing for most boards. This is also really great if you had a tub surround. It's already notched so that you can go over the tub flange. So that really works out well. But keep in mind, you know, any foam board you can pretty much use with this system. The most awesome thing about the shower system is the pan, because it's already waterproof. So you could use Go board, you could use Schluter-Kerdi, you can use whatever foam board. I would recommend a foam board because it's the easiest to do, but the Tile Redi board is definitely awesome. You can order it with your kit as well. A couple other things you definitely want to get along with that is the sealant application that you're going to be using for your foam board. So if you go with Go board, use the Go board sealant, but we're going to use the Tile Redi sealant. So make sure you have plenty of tubes of that. You're going to use quite a bit of it, because we're going to be doing one feature that's going to just kind of ensure this bottom, because this is the most important joint of the entire shower, is right at that backsplash. So we're going to go over with a seam tape and we're going to embed that with the Redi sealant. But I really do like the sealant application, primarily because you could just feather it out with, you know, a 4-inch knife, get everything nice and flat. It makes it really easy for tile work. A couple other things you might want to consider getting is a couple of pipe seals. So this is going to go around our shower head and our hand port. These are pretty important. I would say it's really important for the handheld because water is always hitting that area and you want to make sure that there isn't any water penetrations. And then if you have a regular shower valve, then you can get a valve cover for this, but it obviously is not going to fit with our mowing. You know, some of these valves, there's not really much you can do. You're basically going to be relying on the escutcheon plate to seal to the wall. But if you have a regular valve, this is a great option to put in there. I do have tutorials down below for a regular valve installation of that. Other than that, cement bore screws. I do recommend just using cement bore screws, something with a decent size head for the Wall Redi board. So let's go ahead and get the wall board up. This is going to be really quick and easy, and then we can move on to the tiling the floor. Okay, so biggest thing is just use plenty of sealant. So we're going to just basically put sealant right on top of this backsplash. So make sure there's plenty of sealant there. And we're just going to embed this right on top. So this rabbet joint, very unique. So make sure that this sits against the back wall, because when the other sheet overlaps, it'll make a nice tight seal. Basically just want to make these screws just slightly recess into the board. And we're going to address that seam a little bit more later. And we can just put sealant right between the boards here. So we're gonna seal right against here. So I need some kind of board so that there's a catcher for the, I wish I would have made that a little bit closer that way. Stupid. Oh well. So we'll just go down 3/4. So I'll just have to get a 2x4. 23 5/8. Okay, so keep in mind that you can use all this scrap material and essentially make your own niche out of it. I have a tutorial on a big long one I did, but really it's nothing more than what I'm doing here, basically sealing all the edges and putting it in. And that could be a real affordable way because, I mean, you're going to have extra scrap pieces that you can use to do that. But I just thought that this one was just going to make it a little bit easier because I'm not even tiling it and it's going to stay fairly clean. They have a lot of different varieties of this. You can get them all types of different colors. I just got like a little bit of an off-white because that's what we're using for tile. So, but I want this to be even with my tile so that when my edging comes right over to the edge. So I'm gonna trace this out and just cut a little notch out of the board. I think that would be pretty nice, honestly. Nice,
it matches the waterproofing board perfectly.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna clean this up and then we'll get the faucet seal on it.